My wife made me hold her bag, watch her dance and flirt with a coworker. Then a text popped up on her phone. Let me know when he leaves. She looked at me like I was the problem and tried to blame me. The waiter asked me if I wanted to keep holding her purse or leave it on the chair. I told him I was fine. I lied. I was not fine. Nothing in the scene before me was remotely fine. The live band was playing an overly cliché version of just the two of us, and my wife, yes, my wife, was dancing as if she had just met the love of her life. The problem was that it was not me. I was 20 feet away, by the dessert table, holding a beige leather clutch and pretending to read the drink menu as if it were a novel. She was twirling, laughing, flirting, the kind of flirting that holds memories, as if it were not the first time they had danced, as if it were not the first time he had touched the small of her back. And she did not flinch, as if there were already a rhythm between them, one that I did not recognize, one to which I had never been invited. It was then that I realized she had planned this. Everything. The dress with the plunging back, the one she said was for me, but somehow matched his tie, the sudden insistence that I come to her company's charity gala, even though I hate charity events, and she knows it, the subtle way she kept me near the food and away from the crowd like a coat rack, like a witness, worse yet, a ghost. They twirled again. Her hair swayed like in those shampoo commercials. He leaned in to whisper something in her ear. He smiled as if he had won. And then she looked right through me, not over me, through me. That was the moment. That was when I knew I was no longer her husband. I was just the guy who had brought her here. I was the emotional Uber driver. So I placed the purse gently on the table. I took one last look at the woman I had been married to for 8 years, and I walked away without drama, without scenes, without a final defiant glance, just the quietest goodbye she never heard. But here's the twist. She came running out seconds later, and what she said in that parking lot changed everything. The cold hit me first. Not the temperature, but that kind of cold that settles under your skin. The kind that creeps into your chest and starts unpacking as if it plans to stay for a while. I stood there, next to our car, with my arms crossed, blinking into nothingness. I did not even unlock it. I did not want to sit down. I did not want to cry. I did not want to move until I figured out if what had just happened was real. That is when I heard the clatter of her heels. She was in a hurry. I could hear it in the rhythm. They were not elegant steps or playful skips. This was panic, regret, or maybe just guilt wearing high heels. Maori, she shouted, and I flinched. Not because of the name, but because of the way she said it, as if she were the one who was hurt. I turned around slowly, like they do in the movies when they have had enough. But in real life it is not dramatic. It is awkward. My jaw was tight, but my mouth was dry. I did not know if I wanted to scream or apologize for existing. She looked distraught, her lipstick slightly smeared, her eyes wide, the straps of her dress slipping off her shoulder. For a moment, she looked like someone who had just lost something. Or maybe like someone who realized she had been watched the whole time. Did you really just leave? She asked breathlessly, scanning me with her eyes as if I were an unpredictable animal. Yes, I said. It was all I could manage. A one-syllable avalanche that contained 1,000 questions. She came closer, lowering her voice. Are you really going to do this here, at my work event? There it was, her work event. Not our night, not our relationship, not our problem. I could not help it. I let out a bitter laugh. Not the kind you hear in sitcoms, the kind that sounds like it hurts coming out. I held your purse, I said like an idiot. I held your purse while you slow danced with a man who probably still sends you memes from 2012. Her face changed, as if I had touched on something too close to the truth. She crossed her arms. Her eyes darted nervously. Suddenly, she no longer felt guilty. She was offended. It was just a dance, she hissed, moving closer again. We were catching up. You have become so paranoid lately. It is exhausting. There it was again. My crime was not being disrespected. It was being an inconvenience. But then her phone vibrated. She looked at it instinctively. That moment, that stupid moment, changed everything because her screen lit up just enough for me to see it. A name was calling her, and right below it, a message preview. Let me know when he leaves. I did not say a word. I just looked at her. She saw my eyes. She knew. Instantly the blood drained from her face, and for the first time all night, she looked scared. Not angry, not annoyed, scared. Maori, it is not what you think. I raised my hand. It was shaking. I think, I said slowly, that I need to leave now, before I say something I cannot take back. This time she did not stop me, not with her voice, not with her body, not with the truth. She just stood there, trembling in that $1,000 dress, while I finally opened the door, got inside, and locked it behind me. As I drove away, the tears did not come. Not yet. I was too numb. But what did arrive less than an hour later was a string of text messages so desperate, so frantic, that I almost thought someone had died. But no, nobody died. At least not yet. But the next 24 hours buried everything I thought I knew about my wife. I did not go home. I could not. Suddenly, home felt like a crime scene where technically nothing had happened, but where something violent had undoubtedly taken place. So I drove aimlessly through the blocks, into the industrial district, through dead and silent neighborhoods where the porch lights flickered like dying stars. My phone kept vibrating on the passenger seat, thumping hard against the leather as if trying to escape. I did not look at it for a while. I just let it buzz. Vibration, notification, over and over again. When I finally pulled into an empty parking lot behind a 24-hour donut shop, I picked it up and looked. 13 unread messages, 4 missed calls, 2 voicemails, all from Darla. I did not open any of them. Not yet. Because, honestly, I was afraid. Afraid of what I would read, afraid of how she might sound, whether it would be an apology, an explanation, or something worse. I was afraid to hear her lie, or, worse yet, to hear her tell the truth. But curiosity eats you alive when you are not ready to face it. So I did what every emotionally constipated man does. I chose the most detached method possible. I opened the voicemail transcriptions. The first one was short. Hey, please, don't do this. You are blowing this way out of proportion. I need you to come back so we can talk like adults. The second one came 20 minutes later. I don't know why you are acting like this. It was just a dance. Colder was just being nice. Are you really going to throw away our marriage over a stupid misunderstanding? There was the blame shift again. I was the one ruining things. I was the irrational one, not her, not the one twirling on the dance floor as if her husband was not 10 feet away holding her purse and her dignity in the same hand. Finally, I opened the text messages. One of them hit me differently. I never wanted you to see that message. It was not what it looked like. Nothing is going on between us. I just never wanted you to see it. That is not innocence. That is being caught. It was the digital equivalent of a hot knife running down my back. Not because it confirmed the obvious, but because it confirmed she was still hiding something. The thing is, I still was not ready to face her. Not yet. I did not know what I would say. I did not want to yell. I did not want to cry. I did not want to beg. I just wanted her to feel an ounce of the emptiness that had opened up in my chest, so I did something petty. I turned off my phone and went to my brother's house. He was not there. He and his girlfriend were in Tahoe for the weekend, but he had given me a spare key last year when I helped him fix a water leak. I let myself in, dropped onto his couch like a sandbag, and stared at the ceiling in the dark. That is when the real thoughts came. The ugly, unfiltered ones. Had she cheated on me already? Was tonight the first time she had slept with him, or was it the first time she got caught? Did Colder even know I existed before tonight? Did she talk about me with pity, with contempt, or not at all? I did not sleep. I just waited for the morning as if it could bring clarity. It did not. It brought sunlight, which only made things feel more real, more exposed. When I turned my phone back on the next day, I expected more messages, desperation, maybe even a soft, fearful apology. Instead, I got this. If you are going to act like a child, don't bother coming back until you have grown up. It was like someone had set fire to my ribs. She had completely flipped the script, manipulating me into being the villain of her story. She had stopped pleading, now she was drawing a line. What she did not know was that by the time I received that message, I had already made a decision. I was going to find out the truth, not from her, not through her positions, but by spying. I was going to go straight to the source. I was going to confront Colder. I did not even know if it was legal to look up someone's number using a spouse's work calendar, but at that point I did not care. My hands were shaking, my throat was dry, and my conscience had already packed its bags and left sometime around 3 in the morning. I got into Darla's shared calendar from the home computer, something I had not touched in months. One of her recent events, strategy sync with Colder J. 10 minutes of snooping through her team's Slack directory and internal tools, and I had it. His full name, his company email, his contact card. It felt too easy. I sat on it for almost an hour before doing anything. I stared at his number, reread the messages Darla sent me, reread the one that haunted me the most. I never wanted you to see that message. I told myself I would only ask one question. Just one, something simple, something calm. I would be civilized, controlled, rational. I would not accuse, I would not yell. At 10:43 in the morning I pressed call. It rang twice. Then he answered, "Hello." His voice was casual, as if I had interrupted him in the middle of a latte. I almost froze, but then something inside me ignited, something quiet and focused. "Is this colder?" Yeah. Who is this?" I swallowed hard. "My name is Maori," I said, and then added, "Darla's husband." There was a pause, not long, but long enough for me to hear the shift. The vocal equivalent of someone straightening their posture. "Oh wow," he said. "Okay, I was not expecting that." "Neither was I said. "But here we are." Another pause. Then he sighed as if I had just asked him to assemble a piece of IKEA furniture. "Look, man, if this is about last night." "It is," I interrupted, sharper than I intended. "It is exactly about last night." More silence. He lowered his voice as if he did not want someone in the room to hear him. "Okay, listen. I'm not trying to cause problems. She said things were complicated between you two. That is all I knew. I did not come there trying to start drama. We danced. That is it." I stared at the floor. "She told you we had problems?" He hesitated again, which told me everything I needed to know before he even spoke. "Not exactly, but it is not like she said everything was perfect either." A crack opened in my chest, big enough for nausea to seep through. "Did you two ever?" I stopped. I rewound. "Has anything physical happened between you two?" He did not answer right away. He did that thing people do when they are deciding how honest they want to be, knowing that honesty is going to ruin someone's day. "Look, man, I'm not trying to be disrespectful, okay? But if you are calling me looking for closure or an easy answer, I don't think I'm your guy." That was all he said, but it said everything. I let the silence hang for a moment. He did not fill it. "Right." I finally mumbled, my voice flat. "Well, thanks for your time." I hung up before he could respond. My whole body felt numb. Not in a cinematic way, not in the way a man discovers the truth and rages in front of a mirror. I just sat still, like a television turned off in the middle of a scene, as if every part of me did not know what to do next. So it chose to daunting. I sat there, on my brother's living room couch, staring at the echo of a life I did not know was fake. I thought about the last birthday gift I gave her. I thought about the vacation we had planned for October. I thought about how she had kissed me goodbye that morning before the gala. Not with passion, but with routine, like a chore she still remembered how to do. Then I thought about the look on her face when I saw that message. I never wanted you to see it. Not regret for what she had done, just regret that I had seen it. I got up, paced, sat back down. Then I did something I never thought I would do. I opened my phone, went to the photo album, and deleted every picture we had taken in the last year. Not out of anger, not out of spite, but because suddenly none of it seemed real. I was not sure anymore what the next step would be, whether I would confront her, leave her, or just fall apart somewhere quiet. But I knew one thing for sure. She had made her choices. Now it was my turn. I did not go home until after midnight the next day. I parked 3 houses down because I did not want her to hear the engine or know I was back. Not yet. I wanted to enter like a stranger, not like a returning husband, but like a man inspecting the ashes of something that used to be sacred. The house was dark, lights off, curtains drawn. Not even the porch light was on, and Darla always left it on when she was angry with me, like a passive-aggressive beacon of punishment. But this time, nothing. I opened the door and stepped into silence. No perfume, no music, no hum of the television in the background, just a tomb-like silence and the faint ticking of the kitchen clock, the one I fixed last year when she said it made the room feel alive. Well, the room did not feel alive anymore. I expected yelling or crying, or maybe her waiting for me on the couch with some half-baked apology preloaded in her throat. But the living room was empty, shoes absent, coat rack untouched. Something was not right. I walked into the kitchen, and that is when I saw it. On the table, placed neatly in the center as if it had been put there for effect, was a manila envelope with no name, no note, just perfectly sealed with a small circle of wax pressed in the middle, as if we were in some royal court drama. My stomach clenched. My mind raced. Was it divorce papers, a confession, a restraining order, my name scrawled on a blacklist? I sat down and stared at it for a long minute before finally opening it. Inside were three things. First, a folded piece of notebook paper, torn along the edge as if it had been ripped out in a hurry. Second, a printed and highlighted email. Third, a photo. I unfolded the note first. It was handwritten in Darla's curly script, the one I once thought looked like poetry. Not anymore. You are going to hate me for this, and I probably deserve it. But you deserve the whole truth. I don't have the guts to tell you in person. Maybe that makes me a coward. Maybe I have always been 1 inch. I already hated where this was going. I moved on to the email. It was printed from her inbox. The subject line read, HR review. Urgent follow-up needed. It was dated 4 weeks ago. Apparently, someone in her company's human resources department had flagged her for 4 undeclared relationships within a leadership hierarchy. Someone had filed an anonymous complaint. There were implications of favoritism, after-hours meetings, and undeclared travel. The email was cold, formal, procedural, but the meaning was clear. This was not just about Colder, it was more than Colder. She was under investigation at work for having another relationship, not just a flirtation, with someone above her, and she had tried to hide it. The email even hinted at a possible suspension pending further interviews. My mouth went dry. My vision actually blurred. I pulled out the third item. The photo. It was not Colder, it was Darla in a hotel bar sitting next to a man I did not recognize. Older, in a navy blazer, his hand on her thigh under the table. She was laughing. The same laugh she used to give me when I made dumb jokes during dinner. On the back, scrawled in pen, it read, "He is the one she really saved the green dress for." My pulse was hammering in my ears. For a moment, I felt like I was floating outside my body. Everything I thought I understood, the betrayal, the dance, the message, was not even the whole picture. Colder was just the tip of the rod. He was a distraction. The green dress was not for him. It was not for me. It was for this guy, and I did not even know his name. I sat there for what felt like hours. My hands gripping the envelope, my chest rising and falling as if I had just run a marathon in a storm. When I finally stood up, I did not feel anger. I felt clarity. I was not the fool anymore. I was not confused. I was not holding her purse like a background prop in her story. I now knew what I had to do, and it was not to forgive. The truth has a weight not in your head, but in your gut, like you have swallowed wet cement. And now every step feels like dragging your own tombstone behind you. I did not sleep that night. I did not even pretend to. I just sat in the hallway with the envelope still open beside me, as if it might grow new pages, darker revelations, maybe a final note explaining why, but nothing came. By morning I had made a decision. I was not going to talk to Darla. Not yet. Not while the anger was still raw and alive and sharpening itself like a blade. I needed to think, to plan, to make sure that whatever happened next did not devolve into a shouting match or a pathetic display of heartbreak she could use against me. But at 9:15 in the morning, there was a knock on the door. I was not expecting anyone. My phone was still off. My brother was still out of town. I had not seen another person in almost 36 hours. I opened the door slowly, and there was Melanie, Darla's younger sister. The last person I expected or wanted to see. She was not alone. Behind her, holding a cardboard tray of coffees and looking like she had aged 10 years overnight, was Darla. I froze. Melanie stepped forward, placing herself between us like a human barrier. "She just wants to talk," she said, handing me one of the coffees without waiting for permission. "But she is not coming inside unless you say so." I looked at Darla. She looked terrible. Sweatshirt, no makeup, puffy eyes. Her hair was up in a messy bun that looked like it had been tightened more out of frustration than for style. "Please," she said, her voice cracking. "Just 5 minutes." I did not answer. I stepped aside, not because I forgave her, but because I wanted to hear what kind of story she was going to tell now that I had all the pieces. We sat in silence for a while. Melanie stayed by the window with her arms crossed, watching her sister as if she did not trust her either. Darla sat across from me at the dining room table, right where I had left that envelope the night before. "I know you saw the email," she said finally. I did not nod. I did not flinch. "I did not sleep with him," she added quickly, as if she had practiced it 100 times in her head. "It never got that far." I tilted my head. "That far," I repeated. "So there was a distance you were trying to reach." She looked down. Melanie stepped in. "Darla, just say it." Darla wiped her face. He was my boss. One level up. We got close. He flirted. I flirted back. It seemed safe. I did not think it would turn into anything. But then Colder came into the picture and things got complicated. I started lying, juggling, and I got caught. Human Resources found out about the hotel bar. I did not report it. That was a violation. They are probably going to fire me. She looked at me then, her eyes watery. But the worst part was not losing my job. It was watching you walk out of that room. That look on your face. She did not finish. Instead, Melanie spoke. She told me everything this morning. She said she hated the way you looked at her, like she was a stranger, like you had already written her out of your life. I said. Melanie blinked. Well, she is still here. I looked back at Darla. Why? Why tell me now? Why not before? Because I did not want to lose everything, she whispered. I thought if I did damage control, I could fix it before it went too far. I did not realize I had already crossed the line. Silence again. That is when Melanie dropped the real bomb. She did not put that envelope on the table. I turned to her. What? Melanie shook her head. That is why I came. Darla called me this morning after she found out her boss had sent the complaint to the legal department. She wanted to come clean to you. She was going to sit you down and tell you, but when we got here this morning, the door was unlocked and that envelope was already waiting. My skin crawled. What do you mean it was already here? Melanie moved closer. I mean someone else put it there. My heart started to pound. Darla looked genuinely shocked. Now, you did not leave it on the table last night. I did not even know it existed until I opened it, I said. No one spoke for a long time. Whoever had access to that email, to the photo, and knew enough about Darla's movements to print it, seal it, and deliver it, had been inside our house. This was no longer just about betrayal. This was surveillance. And I had a sickening feeling. It was not over. Melanie's words echoed in the room like a dropped glass. Sharp, confusing, impossible to ignore. Someone else had put the envelope on the table. Someone who had access to Darla's email. Someone who had access to our house. I stood there not moving, just trying to breathe in a room that suddenly felt smaller with every passing second. My mind was spinning wildly, digging through every conversation, every encounter, every moment of the last few months. I had missed something, a sign, a person watching from the sidelines. I don't understand, I finally said. Are you saying someone came in, planted that envelope, and just left? Melanie nodded. There were no signs of forced entry. The door was unlocked. The alarm disarmed. Darla swears she locked it when she left. I turned to Darla. Her face was pale now, as if she had just been hit by the full weight of what that implied. But I did not buy the helpless act anymore. Not entirely, because someone had keys and someone had a motive. I walked out of the kitchen without another word and went to the guest bedroom, the one we barely used. The one Darla always insisted on keeping tidy just in case. I don't know what I expected to find. Maybe a note, maybe a phone, maybe nothing, but something inside me needed to look. It was there. I noticed the outlet cover was slightly crooked, off by a couple of millimeters. Not enough for a guest to care, but I noticed. I always notice things like that. I got the screwdriver from the hallway drawer and slowly unscrewed it. Behind the cover, tucked neatly into the wall cavity, was a small black device with a blinking red light. A live camera. I did not say anything. I did not scream. I did not even tell Darla or Melanie. I just pulled it out of the wall, held it in the palm of my hand, and stared at it as if it could explain itself. Who the hell was watching us? Was it Darla's secret lover trying to spy on her? Was it someone trying to get leverage on her at work? Was it someone trying to get leverage on me? When I finally went back to the kitchen, both women turned to me as if they sensed the air had changed. I dropped the camera on the table between us. Darla gasped. Melanie cursed under her breath. What is that? Darla asked, but her voice was weak, fragile, as if she already knew. You tell me, I said coldly. She reached for it, but I snatched it first. It was in the guest room wall, pointed at the hallway. Not the bed, not the closet. The hallway. Melanie's eyes went wide. That means whoever put it there was not trying to catch someone having an affair, I said, my voice tight. They were tracking movements, comings and goings. Someone was watching to see who was leaving the bedroom, when, how often. That changed everything, because this was no longer about jealousy, it was about timing. Did you ever stay in that room? I asked Darla. She nodded slowly. Some nights after arguments, sometimes if I came home late and did not want to wake you. And did anyone else stay there? A friend? A colleague? Colder. She looked away, her lips trembling. Once, she said. Months ago, my boss, the one from the email, came over after an office dinner when his Uber was canceled. It was pouring. I told you I was working late that night. Remember? Yes, I remembered. I remembered the excuse. I remembered the way she avoided my gaze the next day. I remembered the faint scent of cologne that was not mine on one of the towels. So someone wanted proof, Melanie whispered. But not of the cheating, but of the opportunity, of how often it happened. They wanted a pattern. That is when it all clicked. This was not just about me. This was about getting leverage. Someone was building a case, a digital paper trail, recordings, documentation to sink Darla and maybe whoever was involved with her from the inside. And then a darker thought crept into my mind. What if the person watching was not trying to expose her? What if they were threatening her? Darla looked at me suddenly, her eyes now filled with tears. Not of guilt, but of fear. There is something I did not tell you. I clenched my jaw. Of course there is. She swallowed hard. I got a message last week from an unknown number. It said, "Tell him or I will." I thought it was colder. I deleted it. I thought it was a scare tactic. Why did not you say anything? I asked, fury burning behind my eyes. Because I thought I could fix it, she said. I thought if I buried it, it would go away. I leaned back in my chair, the room slowly spinning around me. Someone had been watching, someone had broken in, someone had planted evidence, and now they were escalating. This was not about betrayal anymore. It was a game, and I had just started playing it far too late. We did not call the police, not yet. Something about it all did not feel like a crime in the traditional sense. It was personal, intimate, designed to destabilize, not to destroy. Someone had been watching us. Yes, someone had clearly crossed boundaries, but this was not a robbery, it was a message, and I already knew who it was from. The same man Darla had tried to protect with half-truths and shaky alibis. Her former boss. I will not waste time naming him. That is what he wanted. To be named, to be significant, to be someone whose presence infected more lives than he had earned the right to touch. He had power, influence, enough to manipulate people into keeping secrets. And when Darla pulled back, when she tried to end it, he got sloppy, desperate. He started threatening to expose her. The blackmail, the envelope, the camera, the anonymous message, all part of the same performance. A man trying to remind her that leaving would have a cost. He never expected her to break, but she did. And he never expected me to stay calm, but I did. Melanie helped me organize everything. The printed emails, the HR thread, the photo, most importantly, the recordings extracted from the camera's memory card. We handed it all over to Darla's legal counsel. And within days, the man was placed on administrative leave pending an internal investigation. I don't know what happened after that. I did not care. It was not my war anymore. I had already made my decision. I was not going to stay, not for revenge, not to punish Darla, but because the man I had been in this marriage, the one holding her purse while she spun in the arms of another, was someone I never wanted to be again. The moment I saw the truth, I did not feel hatred, I felt freedom. I moved out the following week quietly. No fights, no drama, no final speeches. I packed my books, my records, and my one good skillet. I left the house key on the counter with a single note. I forgive you, but I'm done choosing people who don't choose me. I have not spoken to Darla since. It has been 3 months. I started going to therapy, not for her, but because I realized how many things I had let slide in my life just to keep the peace. I stopped apologizing for needing space. I stopped pretending my silence was strength. I started writing again. I joined a hiking group. I even bought a ridiculously ugly dog from a shelter and named him Waffles. Because why not? And last week something strange happened. I walked into a bookstore, the kind that smells like old wood and new beginnings. And a woman at the counter smiled at me. Not a flirty smile, not a forced one, just human, warm, real. We ended up talking for almost 20 minutes about a dumb paperback I was holding. She made fun of my taste in fiction. I told her she was wrong. We laughed. I did not ask for her number. Not yet. But I will soon because, for the first time in a long time, I'm not haunted by what I lost. I'm excited by what I might find.